Slow the fuck down. You know, the old game of hustle and achieve is dying. The rewards from the system that we had been living in for the last 50 years of the more that you do, the more that you earn is no longer valid. So as a creative, your value truly lies in your embodied presence, not in the quantity or the output of the work that you do. And I know I'm a broken record if you've been here before, but it's not about what you do or how you do it, it's the place from which you create. It's the energy, the presence, the core from which you give your gifts. So in this video, I just really want to talk about what I call the Embodied Creator Roadmap. The skills and the practices that you need to deepen your presence and impact the world profoundly through your creativity in a way that will set you up for success in the next 5 to 10 years. So if you're new here, my name is Kev. I'm an award-winning furniture designer, and I teach emotional intelligence to ambitious creatives because that is the glue that makes success sustainable. So the first principle of what it means to really become an embodied creator is to be connected to your internal compass. I see so many people that busy themselves. Busy for busy's sake, or following this productivity hack, how to get more done in a day. If only I do X, Y, and Z, then I'll finally get the reward, but it doesn't work like that anymore. What is most fruitful, what is such a high use case of our time and energy as a creative, is to deepen our connection to ourself and to trust our internal compass. What I call those creative nudges. Those nudges that arise from God knows where. The downloads, right? That all of a sudden it runs through your system and you feel this kind of intuitive nudge to like, go here today, call this person, work through that idea. And that type of connection only comes when we create spaciousness inside of our lives, right? If we're busy, there is no space for inspiration, downloads, or just that kind of magic to land, right? If we're constantly having our head down in whatever tasks we have to do, which is amazing, right? We need to still be disciplined. I want to create separation between being busy and being disciplined. We need discipline and devotion, but we can do without the busyness, right? So if we're stuck in busyness and output, and we have our heads down, we are not attuning as creatives and artists and designers to the moment. And the moment, literally the now, is where all of the possibility and potential is actualized, right? The trap I see is that people say, I'm gonna do all of this so that at some point in the future I will be able to X, Y, and Z. And that's beautiful, it's just half the truth. Plan, put a few eggs in the basket of tomorrow, but do not bank your value, your fulfillment on ever getting there, because you're only ever here. So what I see successful creatives do is to fully ground in the present. One of my teachers says, ground the fuck down, and I love it. I also just love using the F word in particular places, but to encourage a level of connection with yourself requires pause, and it requires presence. And that's really uncomfortable for a lot of people. We don't know how to sit with the silence of ourselves. We don't know how to sit in stillness because of the discomfort that comes up, and all of the to-dos, the insecurities, the fears, the responsibilities, and all of those things are valid. And I'm not saying go sit and meditate for 12 hours a day. But what I am saying is to get really, really clear about how you are directing your energy in as many moments throughout the day as possible. So if that begins with your morning routine and how you plan to devote your energy for the day, get really clear on how connected to yourself you feel and how you can increase that connection. And that comes to listening to that internal compass. Tap into it. Today might look a little bit different than yesterday. You might be led in a slightly different path, or you might be led to do the same exact thing. But to take moments of pause to check in with yourself is what will deepen your presence which then in turn will deepen your felt experience by the world in the work that you do. So deepen your connection to your internal compass. The second principle of really becoming a successful embodied creative is to own your truth. So many people don't actually know what they want. If you ask people this question, it truly flabbergasts people. If you can't say what you want in 1 or 2 sentences, you don't know what you want. You know, if you would have asked me a year ago, 6 months ago what I want, I would probably break eye contact, scratch my neck, look around, and give you a pretty complex answer. And I would also dim down my desires a lot, you know, to make it more digestible or appropriate to the other person, thinking they won't get me or I have to make this sound more logical. You don't, right? If it makes sense to you and you can embody the truth of what you desire in 1 or 2 sentences, you're on your way to actually getting that. Because if you can't be succinct and clear with what you want in life, how are you ever supposed to get there, right? You can't move with direction if you don't know where you're going. And that doesn't mean you have to be rigid about where you're going. It can evolve. But to say to yourself, what do I want for my life in the next 6 to 12 months? I want to deepen my connection to my fire and my creative life force. And I want to show up in community as a more refined, authentic version of myself. In the next 6 months, I want to pivot my business so that I am less dependent on high-ticket clients and I am giving most of my value to the world at a lower price point. Whatever the heck it is, right? Experiment. And you can even do the practice of going with a friend to practice owning your truth together. Look at each other, ask each other that question, what do you want? And see what comes up for you. See where you want to look away. See where you want to start touching your face. See where you start rambling when you could be more succinct. Owning your truth is the first step to moving with boldness, to moving with confidence, which is going to make you occur as magnetic and authentic to the world around you. And that is the presence that people will happily pay for. That is the level of presence that people crave now more than ever. You walk into a space and your energy is experienced and felt by the world around you. Much of it happens unconsciously, but you are evoking an experience out of the world through everything that you do. The way you talk to the barista, the way you walk, the way that you get out of your car, the way you're on the subway, the way that someone is watching you paint or draw, the way that your art, your creativity's experience has your signature in it. So what is the signature that you're leaving on that? What is the energy that created it, right? What is the place from which you created imbuing into your work in all that you do? If you're creating from a place of need, of scarcity, of feeling not good enough, which we're humans, we all struggle with, I'm not calling those things out as bad. One of my deep-seated fears is the fear of inadequacy, the fear of not being good enough, along with the fear of success. Like those are 2 of my primal fears, right? I'll own those. I can own those and realize when I create from those places, I am not giving my gifts to the world. I'm withholding and I'm subduing myself, and that's not what the world craves, you know? You're not for everybody. And so the more that you can learn to acknowledge your fears and insecurities and give from a place that is more connected to your deep truth, be less attached to people giving you validation and accepting you and just more connected to yourself and your own truth, that is going to magnetize the right people, places, and opportunities into your life as a creative. Not to mention, it just makes you attractive as fuck out there in the world, right? When you are someone who's just connected to themselves and is owning their truth with wild abandon, not being disrespectful to the world around you or owning it. I don't mean owning your truth by something that is a projection out into the world. Like it's all self-contained, right? Like this is what I feel. This is what I crave to create. That directness is really, really valuable because people do not know what they want and people are not connected to themselves and their bodies, right? So people that literally are embodied are immediately set aside from the 99%. Which leads me to the next principle, is to become magnetic as fuck. I might use that word a lot in this video because I guess that's how I'm feeling today. And magnetism is a byproduct of authenticity. So getting clear on what feels authentic to you and how that energy is running through your body. You know, the other day I had an experience where I just was like, kind of called myself out for being so inauthentic. There was this gal sitting next to me at the coffee shop, and we started chit-chatting, and halfway through I just felt like I wasn't being authentic. Like I was like dimming down how I show up in the world to kind of cater to where she was in that moment. And I was just like, I'm sorry, like I'm really not fully expressing myself right now, and I want to apologize. This is actually what I crave to create, is this, you know? And it felt like a really beautiful little moment, because there's so many opportunities where I unconsciously will see myself dimming or subduing for no reason other than maybe I'll be more accepted, maybe people will judge me less, but that's all my own narrative, right? So magnetism has to be, magnetism is a byproduct of authenticity. And authenticity means, are you connected to yourself in the moment? Are you aware of what you're feeling? Are you in your body? Are you connected to the earth? And are you fully expressed, right? Not easy to do any of those things, but that's the only place that authenticity can occur. Because you can only be fully expressed when you are grounded and when you're connected to what you are currently feeling, you know? And you have a grasp on who you are and who you're becoming to be. We're inauthentic when we don't know what we want, we don't know what we're feeling, so we're moldable to the moment. We're moldable to other people's energy. It's not wrong, it's just if you want to become magnetic, that's not the path, right? And the thing about magnetism that people don't think about is you are charged now. So you are equally going to repel as you will attract. And this is a good thing. It's just a shadow that people don't talk about. When you become magnetic, you are attracting and magnetizing juicy, delicious things, but you're also creating resistance and repelling, which has an energy that can be dense, right? When people clearly are off-put by your energy and your boldness, that's a whole category of inner work that needs to be done. That is slippery, right? But I can guarantee you that the life that you want is much more available to you, and in fact I'd say is only available to you through authenticity. You cannot build an inauthentic life that is fulfilling. Those two can't exist in the same room. Inauthenticity and fulfillment are polar opposites, right? So to become magnetic as fuck means to connect to your authenticity. To connect to your authenticity means to be aware of what you are feeling, what's happening in your body, and know how to fully express that. And to not project that. It's a whole nother thing, but I'll leave it at that. And so, byproduct of what comes out of your process of deepening authenticity and magnetism is emotion, right? Doesn't matter how stoic you are, masculine or feminine, we all have different relationships to our emotions. And the embodied creator knows how to turn emotion into movement. You know, presence is our most powerful gift to the world. That is often the most tainted thing we give to the world. Our presence becomes muddied, subdued by stuck energy, by stuck emotions. And a great litmus test is, if you feel stuck in life, know that there's an emotion stuck there too. A lot of people do not know that they have repressed emotions, that they have stuck emotions, that they have some kinks that need to be worked through. Like we don't know what we don't know until we know, right? Once you're made aware of these kinks, it's your responsibility to alchemize them. And the way to work with emotion is to increase our capacity to be sensitive, to feel. This doesn't mean to be a victim or to wallow. I'm not for that at all. I think some shadows that I see in the world around me today especially as a man, are one, like the uber rigid stoicism, but then two, the people, especially men, that just get stuck in wallowing and looping in their emotions, and that's not healthy, vital, or magnetic, right? What is important to be embodied as a creative is to be able to turn emotion into movement, which means I have to be able to identify what's moving through me at any moment, which means you're having an emotional experience at every single moment of the day. It doesn't matter what texture that is, it's just there. So to know how to feel into that fully and turn it into movement. Now I want to speak explicitly to maybe bigger emotional movements, whether that's frustration, whether that's sorrow, whether that's anger, whether that's grief, or even that's like true divine joy. How to turn those into something valuable for the world is allowing yourself to follow what feels most alive inside of those emotions. For instance, a lot of people do not have relationships with anger. If you feel like there is something that is frustrating you or bringing up anger in your life, create a dedicated space and practice 30 minutes in the morning, at night, later that day, whatever it is, where you're away from the world and you can be with yourself in that emotion and you can allow it to move. Maybe you imbue like literal creativity into it, where you're like, I'm gonna get some charcoal out and some paper and I'm just gonna, as I listen to some fucking punk rock or whatever it is. Or maybe you have your 3-song dance party where you let some angst out of your body and you just kind of scream and move. Or maybe it's something simple like you go to the gym and you max out that day and see how heavy you can lift. Not to prove anything to anyone, but to breathe through emotion that is moving through your body. Your breath is what connects your inner experience with your outer reality and the way that you are occurring to the world. So the breath is the modulator, right? The breath is how you alchemize your inner experience into movement, which is where your gifts come online, right? And there's so much more I can talk about on that. Check out the Embodied Creative Toolkit. The link's in the description below. That's a whole training that'll walk you through how to experiment with becoming more emotionally intelligent and how that relates to your business. But to use breath as sort of that modulator of alchemizing, of turning this kind of invisible experience into a physical, tangible experience so that you can return to regulation. The goal is to not have a control over your emotions. It's to know how to move them through your body, be aware of them, so that you can return to a regulated state more quickly, because that is where you give your gifts to the world, right? And so from this place, you become what I call an embodied creator. And once you're an embodied creator, which we all are, we just become more of it, right? When we've deepened our presence, when we access our authenticity, we're able to really show up in business and our careers with so much more vitality, confidence, power, resourcefulness, resources even, right? From that place, you're able to really, what I would consider, productize yourself. You know, when you are embodied in yourself, you are unwaveringly devoted to your craft, whatever that is. You know what your authentic blueprint is. You know what it feels like to be connected to that authenticity. You're magnetic. You're connected to your breath. You're connected to your inner compass, you know. From that place, that is where you are going to give the deepest transmission of your purpose and your value to the world. So productize yourself, whatever that means to you, you know. Look to the gifts that you have, the voids that you see in the world, and through your presence, create an offering, create art, create a service that will deeply, deeply impact the world, purely because people want to be connected to who you are and learn from you. Whether that's through you cleaning people's solar panels and it's the charisma that you interact with clients, or the charisma and the way that you interact with clients that's really magnetic, whether that's you being an environmental consultant for permaculture design builds, whether that's you hand painting signs, I come back to this all the time, for local businesses, or doing, you know, teaching emotional intelligence to creatives. Like, find a way to productize who you are and the energy that you operate from. You know, Start small. Start leading workshops. Start creating a local offering. Get your first 10 clients by showing up at the coffee shop, saying, this is who I am, this is the gift I want to offer to the world. For the first 10 people, I'll give you a free consultation, whatever it is. But when you can arrive at a place where you're so connected to yourself, people want that energy. People don't buy products, they buy the energy that's inside of them. And that is a product of your presence, right? And I say this all the time, but your presence is truly your business. Deep presence is what the world craves. We are lacking connection. And connection is a byproduct of presence, you know? We are lacking true creativity with all the AI output. And creativity comes from those who are deeply connected to themselves, i.e. presence, right? So the Embodied Creator Roadmap is really this inner journey that manifests and materializes outwardly as a byproduct of how deeply connected you become to yourself. And that is what I see the future of creative work becoming. It's not about how much you do or what you do at all, really. It's about the core from which you create and how that leaves an energetic signature inside of your work and all of your interactions and all that you do. And that is the void that I see in the world that people crave to be touched. People crave to be filled. And I would much rather have that be filled by people who are deeply connected to themselves, embodied, and giving their gifts in a way that is aligned on their purpose, rather than the kind of sleazy, fill the void at all costs, scarcity marketing tactics that are out there in the world, right? So get out there, deepen your level of connection to yourself, and become an embodied creator. And if you want the deepest dive on a self-study training, check out my Embodied Creator Toolkit. The link's in the description below. That'll expand upon and give you real-world experiments and practices that you can start implementing today into your life to help you become more of an embodied presence in the world and how you show up in business. So thank you for being here. I appreciate y'all so much. I'm looking forward to seeing the next one. Subscribe if you haven't, and yeehaw. Ciao.